Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. This is Rabbi Simon Eltef HaKohen. Can everybody hear me, please? Before we kick start it. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Okay, that's great. I think that everybody can hear me just about. And we'll kick start it from last week's session. I believe last week we did a session, and I obviously, there may be questions or concerns about things that were said and done. Of course, it's a good idea to recap what we spoke about, so that if there's anything that needs to be understood or misunderstood, that we can correct it. So before I kickstart with this week's session, which is probably jam-packed with things as well, but I just wanted to make sure that you understood what I said last week. Any questions from last week's lecture? Okay, it looks like nobody has any questions from last week's lecture. Nobody has put their hands up. I wanted to give you a testimony before I begin. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. And whilst I'm about to give you a testimony, I will attest that I just this afternoon made another audio, which is, by the way, Hebrew sounds, and it's an extension to the Hebrew sounds audio that I made earlier, and it is very powerful, very, very powerful. I haven't released it to anybody other than myself, of course. I've just been listening to it and just making sure that it's just right. Now, I had an email, and the person in concern, I don't think they're in the room, and I'm not sure if they come in the room or not, but I won't take their name, and I will just give you the testimony of what happened and what they said. I'll kind of paraphrase so that I don't, use their family information. So basically, I had this email this morning, and she told me she wanted to share some testimony with me, and she told me that she has been listening to the Hebrew Sounds recording that I made on January 14th and started using the beads for the first time. Now listen to this, for the first time using the sound Gimel on January 27th. So, we're not talking this about months and months and years and 20 years down the line something happened. We're not talking about that. We're talking about days. We're talking about less than 2 weeks over here. From January 14th to January 27th is probably not even 2 weeks. And so she said that her sons had been struggling with jobs. They couldn't find jobs, and they've been struggling since September last year. They were laid off, and she said that both her sons got hired first and second week in February at the same company. Both of them got hired. She said that the son had applied. She told me that the son had applied to other companies, different companies, but was not getting a single response. But were hired on days 19 and 20. And listen to this, days 19 and days 20, after I started listening to the Hebrew Sounds recording, and days 6 and 7, okay, not even a full week. She's days 6 and 7 after chanting the Gimel sound on her beads. She also said that her healing side, she was suffering from cough, and that a cough disappeared around day 7 of listening to the Hebrew Sounds recording and also speaking her healing affirmation. She said she was intending to buy a dehumidifier, which I had advised her, but she has not had the opportunity to do so, and also that her sister had given her some money, just as a sister thing. She got a $200 and then got $100 from her. I'm not sure whether that's just a gift, I guess. So she's giving thanks to the Abba. She wants to give thanks to the Abba and for the sounds and for the healing and for all the wonderful things that have happened to her since, she has come into the knowledge and understanding of the application of what has been taught over here. So this should be very encouraging for a lot of you who are out there also practicing, also, doing your affirmations and also working on your details. So I have been working on different sigils over here. And I have designed some sigils over here using the Hebrew alphabet. I guess I say Hebrew alphabet because, there's nuances of how you design these particular sigils. But I can't show you these over here because, I've got a whiteboard or something. But what I was thinking is maybe what I will do with these, I want to put them to some test. And obviously, I'm going to look at them myself. And I want to make some copies and put them around my home. And I will probably make WhatsApp or something and send it to some of my students so they can put it up in their homes. And then I want to gauge the results of these sigils. These are like, these are like codes. Codes, when I say sigil, like angels have sigils, angels have codes. And I do play around with them, with angelic codes as well. And what should I tell you? Let me tell you something else of interest, which just happened. This morning, I woke up and I think I was rummaging around my phone, and I thought, I have my UK SIM and my US SIM, but my US SIM is usually in my wallet. I don't hardly use it because it's not usable over here. But I do use the UK SIM from time to time when I have to input a code. If I go onto a UK website and sometimes they ask for a code and then they send it on my SIM, sometimes that happens. So anyway, this morning I got up and I was like, my UK SIM is usually behind my phone's cover. And what happened this morning, I was looking at it, I was looking for it, and it just, it wasn't there. I lost it. And I was like, my goodness, I've lost my SIM. That's very important to me. That means I can't get into websites if I don't have the SIM. Anyhow, so I rummaged around. I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it in my room. I went to my bedroom. I couldn't find it there. I couldn't find it outside. I thought maybe it's in the garage side. It wasn't there either. So went outside in front of the garage. Wasn't there either. So the only place I'd visited was a site, like a place, I visited a friend. It wasn't too far from here. I thought, well, it's almost evening over here. There's no point in me going over there now because I won't find nothing there in the dark. So I thought, well, and it's plus heavy security over there, people carrying rifles and guns. So I thought, well, there's no point going there now because they're going to say, well, what's he doing here at 7 o'clock at night when it's dark, so everything is shut down. So I thought I'll go there in the morning. But then in the meantime, what I did, I summoned the angel Raphael, and I said to Raphael, I need my SIM, go find it, and I just left it at that. I went away. I started to do other things. I started to listen to a couple of videos. I think one was about Elon Musk, and another video was about that muscle guy. What's his name? Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, Dwayne Johnson. I was listening to one of his testimonies, rather interesting testimony, and about his life story. And then just as I was listening to it, my wife came in the room and she said, "Oh, I found your SIM." And there was also that phone, little pin that opens the phone. She said, "Oh, I found these," and they were on the bed. So, Baruch Hashem Yahweh, found those. Very, very happy. So, the point is this, that there is power in what you do. There is always power in what you do. Question is, do you believe in it? You see, the first thing that you have to leap over is your belief. Now, the problem is this, that a lot of people do not believe in themselves. And a lot of people are regurgitating affirmations without belief. Now, belief has become that word that, is thrown around, all over the place on the internet and churches and other places. But really, nobody really has to date, nobody has really explained what is belief. You see, they use the word belief, they use the word faith, but nobody has really explained to me to this day what is faith and what is belief. So I thought, what would be a worthwhile task today, as I explain some of the newer concepts that I'm going to introduce to you, is what is belief? And for that, I'd have to go to the New Testament and use some of the words of Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, which I think he is perfect, person to illustrate my point of belief. And, since you're my audience over here, and I have, several hundred thousands of audience that listen on the internet, but they don't always write to me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they write to me their successes, and sometimes they might write to me for advice. But I, hear from them, not weekly, but maybe I might hear from them every 3 months, 4 months, whatever, as they find their successes, they'll write to me. Baruch Hashem, very happy about that still, nevertheless. So those are not my audience to ask this question today. Since you're my audience over here, then I will ask you that are listening in your opinion, what is belief? Or let me put it, what is faith? What is belief? Now let me explain to you something before we come back to our question. And you're going to laugh at this. And this is the thing that astonishes me. Wherever I go, I hear these things from people, and I just shake my head and I think, how stupid are people? And I'm not saying stupid in the sense of trying to degrade people in any way. I'm not saying stupid to those people who get caught up in the nonsense. I'm talking about stupid people like teachers. I'm talking about teachers over here who are so stupid that they will take a word and they will tell other people, don't use this word because it's bad connotations, blah, blah, blah. And they will mislead people. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about you, the ordinary person who's listening and trying to make sense of things. I'm talking about the so-called teachers who are misleading others by words. So let me give you a word, the word Amen. The word Amen, over here, people use the word Amin. You might use the word Amen. And in the Jewish culture, they may say Omen. This is a word that is used. Here, somebody asked me a question. One of my students asked me a question. Should we use the word Amen? Because, the teacher that he had over there in his city had told them that the word Amen is an evil word and we should not use it. And that it is connected to ancient gods and stuff like that. So, you might have heard that as well. I'd heard this in America a while back. Somebody had brought this similar question to me a while ago, that the word Amen is connected to the Egyptian deity. And I said, what a load of BS. I just said, what a load of BS, honestly. Honestly, I just laughed at that. And that's what I mean by stupid people. I don't mean the people who listen and try to make sense. I mean the people who try to teach you and say to you that, hey, don't use the word Amen. It's from the Egyptian deity. And yet, this is far from the truth. It is far, far, far from the truth. They are misleading people. These kind of so-called teachers of whatever they call themselves, they're definitely not Torah teachers because they don't know the ABC of Torah. They might call themselves Christian teachers, or maybe they call themselves pastors, or maybe they use other titles. Whoever they are, I really don't really care. I don't have any love for them that I should care anyway. But what I'm saying is that be very careful when you hear these kind of words. Because, this is what I said to my student. I just laughed. I said, he said, my, ex-teacher or whatever, present or ex-teacher, he said this. And I told him, I said, look, I've told you many times, and I'm going to tell you last time, stop wasting your time with people like that. You're not getting from A to B. Why are you wasting your time with people like that? When you're not getting from A to B, why would you want to waste your life with him? I said, I will give you the formula and you apply the formula and your life's going to change from A to Z. And then you're going to say, you know what? I've wasted all my years with this so-and-so teachers and they've given me nothing all their life. They've given me nothing. They just led me down the wrong road. They have mistaught me and they have put me down, this gutter where I can't even come out of. So that's the kind of garbage teaching that I hear about. Yeah, absolutely, Rabbi Kefa. Energy wasted. They're misleading people. They're giving them words that don't really mean what they say. Look, and I was laughing because when he said Amen, and I laughed. The reason why I laughed because Amen, the word Amen, is a Hebrew word. Then listen to this. It's a Hebrew word. So are you going to tell me now that the Hebrew word is evil? Because it comes from the word amunah. The word amunah, which is used in the Hebrew language for faith, well, that's where Amen comes from. So now they want to apply to some fictitious deity. They want to apply to some goddess in Egypt, and then they want to make it sound like it's an evil word. This is how, unfortunately, the ignorant masses are deceived by, world over. Oh my goodness, a lot of people talk like that out there, deceiving people by misusing words. The word faith, the word belief, when you convert it back into Hebrew, is going to become the word amun, amunah. That's what it's going to translate into. So if you said the word amen, is it a bad word? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's actually a very good word. Amen is actually a very good word, because amen activates centers of your brain that are very good for you. So this is the problem. The problem is amen is not a bad word in any particular sense of the meaning. And amunah, as I explained to you, amunah is a Hebrew word, and there may have been cases in the past where people may have applied these words. I'm talking about Hebrew words. Maybe they were used in other languages as well, the Akkadian language, maybe in the Aramaic language, maybe in other languages. They were used in a particular way. But the problem is that the intent was not evil. But today, modern so-called teachers who are clueless about a lot of the ancient things, they're clueless about Hebrew language and, means and use. Especially, when you say to somebody Kabbalah, they're like, what the hell is Kabbalah? They've never heard of it. So especially over here. So there's a lot of this going on that people don't know. And when they don't know, they can't appreciate the power of the Hebrew sounds. So just as I said, as I explained it to you earlier, the lady I spoke to, I gave her the Hebrew sounds, and she only listened to them, and she's only been listening to them for probably over a week, and she's been doing the Gimel for maybe, it was her 7th day, and she started to see miracles in her life. She started to see her son getting jobs. They were getting pushed back before, no job. As things are difficult in a lot of the parts of the world, and so things started to change. Her environment started to change. Why? Because you're creating that change. In other words, the change is already there. Remember, I told you everything is created. The change is already there. You're just calling it out. You're saying, I want to call this out. I want to call that car out. I want to call that home out. I want to call that job out. I want to call that financial breakthrough out. And that's what's happening. When that happens, then of course things start to change. And so I wanted to go there, but I will take you to the Aramaic as well. There is something for you in Aramaic as well. I'll come to that. Before I come to the Aramaic, let me just tell you something else, because this parsha is about mishpatim. Mishpatim means laws. The laws that were given to us by God at a particular time and with a particular meaning. And as soon as those laws were given, mishpatim, it's from the book of Exodus, Shemoth, chapters 21. And the first law that it mentions, as soon as it talks about mishpatim, the first law that is mentioned starts talking about a Hebrew servant, or in modern terms you might say Hebrew slave, or you might say indentured servant. I would say more or less indentured servant. Somebody who comes to you, says, I want to work for you, sign me up a contract for 6 years, and I'll serve you 6 years, and I'll go in the 7th, and you pay me all that belongs to me. Basically, what you might call today's workforce. When you go to somebody, you sign up a contract, you get a letter that says you're working for that person. That person is going to pay you X amount of money every bi-weekly or every monthly. You're going to get a check, and that, Now, of course, in the ancient times when these things happened, if the servant that was there, if he acquired a wife from the master, like for instance, the laws were that if he acquired a wife from the people that are already working over there today, you go to your modern job, you find you like somebody, you're a male, you find a wife, you start dating that woman, and you marry her, and you go away and you produce your children, no problem, nothing happens. But in the ancient times, when you were in a particular circle, when you found a wife that was already also indentured to the master, to the owner of the business, then of course that woman, her rights belong to that master. So if you married her and you had children and you wanted to leave, in the ancient terminology, you would have to leave your wife behind. Excuse me, you'd have to leave her behind. So you would have to leave her behind. That is if you said to your master, to your owner, or to your boss, you said, hey, I made enough money, I'm leaving, I'm going to start my own business. This woman, I found her over here. And so the master will say to you, well, okay, then leave her over here where you found her. And there would be such instances where you could take her with you, and you could take the children with you as well, but those arrangements would have to be made, in a particular order, because these are covenant things, and they happened according to covenant. You couldn't just get up one night, middle of the night, and disappear with your wife and children. You couldn't do that. It wasn't allowed. But you'd have to make special arrangements, and then you'll probably be able to take your family with you. Just remember when Jacob was working for his uncle. Remember how he decided to leave, and he wanted to marry the sister, or there was two sisters. He wanted to marry one sister, I believe, one of them that he wanted to marry, and the uncle said, okay, and then afterwards the uncle cheated him, and he married him to the elder sister instead of the younger sister. So he ended up marrying Leah, and he didn't know it was Leah until the morning. And when he found out it was Leah, and then he also wanted to take his original bride, and then he covenanted with the uncle to give him the original bride. Uncle said, you have to work another 7 years for me. And so the story goes. You remember that he wanted to take the children, but he couldn't just leave with them. And when he did leave with the children and his two wives, the uncle pursued him. These are ancient laws. In the ancient laws, there were certain practices that you had to do before you could actually take your wife and children. And so when he leaves, the uncle pursues, and uncle catches up, and then the rest of the discourse follows. So basically, these are laws, these are statutes, these are judgments that are rooted in ancient tradition. They're rooted in Torah, and today a lot of the nations, especially Western nations, and I would even so go for us to say the Eastern nations, a lot of those apply these laws today in their lands. And a lot of the laws are taken from what we call the Bible. And some of them may be slightly modified. Others may just be as is, and they are applied verbatim to the people of the land. So coming back to, we were talking about faith. We were talking about belief. Faith, belief, synonymous words. What do they actually mean? And this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to take the book of Mark, chapters 11, verses 24, in which it says, therefore, here Yeshua Jesus is speaking, and he's saying, therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. So that is one of the words that he used in the book of Mark. Now we will look at that a little bit. I can take you there. Let me open up my Abrahamic-Faith Bible to the book of Mark, chapter 11, verse Mark. Let me take you there. Book of Mark, chapter 11, verse 24. And we'll come before verse 22. Here we have, Kefa before that in the verse says, Kefa calling to remembrance said to him, Rabbi, behold, the fig tree which you cursed is withered away. And Yehoshua answering said to them, have faith in Elohim. Have belief in Elohim. For verily I say to you that whosoever shall say to this mountain, be ye removed, and be you cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his heart, but shall believe. Now remember that ubiquitous word again, believe, that those things which he has said, doesn't mean he or she, doesn't matter if he or she is the same, but he said shall come to pass, or she said will come to pass. He shall have whatever he said. Therefore I say to you, whatever things you desire, when you petition, when you pray, when you sit down, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. When you stand petitioning, forgive if you have anything against any, that your Abba also which is in the Shemaim, in the heavens, may forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Abba which is in the heavens, which is in the Shemaim, forgive your trespasses, forgive your sins. Okay, so this very, very important passage in the book of Mark that Jesus of Nazareth spoke about, and he emphasized the point about belief, and he emphasized the point about trespasses or sins or things that you have done that are not appropriate perhaps, or not congruent to your living, how to go around it, how to go about it. So now my question, what does he mean by that? What does it mean by that believe, if you believe? And if you didn't hear me, if I was too fast, I'll slow down, I'll say it to you again. For verily, verse 23, for verily I say to you in Mark chapter 11, that whosoever shall say to this mountain, be you removed, and be cast into the sea, and shall not doubt in his or her heart, but shall believe that those things which he said, but shall believe those things that he said shall come to pass, he shall have whatever he said. Therefore I say to you, whatever things you desire, when you petition, when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. What does that actually mean? Anybody wants to take a pot shot? Anybody wants to take a guess? Anybody wants to tell me what does the rabbi, what does the teacher here, what does he mean by these words? If you call him a teacher, if you call him the Messiah, if you call him Lord, whatever you call him, what is he talking about? What is he saying? Is he saying that you can speak to the mountain and the mountain will go away? The mountain will suddenly get legs and walk? What is he saying? What is the example? Because he's telling his students. He's talking to his students. He's talking to people in life that are standing there. He's talking to all of them. He's giving them some example of what can happen and what can't happen. What does he mean by that? Because, I hear Christians, they read the Bible, and some people who are not Christians, maybe they also read the Bible just for, kicks and giggles. And they say, oh, see, Jesus said this and this is what it means. And so they try to ascribe meanings to it. And some people who are serious, students of Scripture, they read it and they try to get an understanding of what Rabbi Yeshua has said, what Jesus of Nazareth has said. And so I'm kind of honing in on the word belief. What does the word belief mean? And it's okay, you can take a shot at the answer. This is not about whether you're right or wrong. This is not about whether you got spot on, but this is just trying to understand that do we really understand the word belief, which could be the word faith as well. If you have faith in this, then you can do that. If you have faith in B, then D can happen. What does that mean? I think it's important that we understand this from a point of view to accelerate our growth. The purpose is to accelerate our growth and not to hinder our growth. So Olivia is saying that having no doubt, okay? Deborah is saying that we have the power within us to call things in the atmosphere to ourselves, and we can change things. Belief is to confidence and trust in someone or something. Okay, these are good answers. Olivia, good answer, having no doubt. Of course, before you begin in anything, if you start with doubt, then doubt is what we say is satanic. It's satanic in the sense that the word Satan actually means doubter, or one who casts doubt. So kind of satanic doesn't mean that it makes you Satan. It means that you started off with doubt, so your success is going to be limited. Line Princess is saying, being certain in one's expectations will happen before it actually does, allegorical or not literal. Okay, yeah, sure, good answer. Hadassah saying that receiving the information and acting on it, it's a great answer. Bringing your desires into existence, Rabbi Zakaria, bringing your desires into existence, great answer. Great answers all round. All of you have given me great answers. I can't fault you for the answers you've given me. And now I'm going to Adelia saying that we must be humble in order to receive our desire. Okay, these are all great answers. I want to give you a little input, and when I give you the little input, then I want to play. If I can, I'm going to play. In fact, I'm going to speak. Rather, I shall play for you the prayer that Jesus gave in the Aramaic language. So we will do that later, but in the meantime, I just wanted to quickly use some of the wording, because this is where the secret lies to your success. Because if you understand what he said here, then you've already won 50% of the battle. Because this is 50% of the battle. The 50% of the battle is trying to understand the words, what they actually mean, and what is the application. A few years ago, when I was in university, I was given I was a part of a project, and part of my engineering degree, and I had a team of about 6-7 people. They all came along and they said, "You are the team leader. This is your team. You're going to present to us, a project, and you're all going to speak about the project. You're going to," and the course was, I think the module was called implementation. It was to do with engineering. So I told my students, I said, okay, this is how we're going to implement it. This is what we're going to do. I sent them all off on 7 different areas to collect information. They all went off in different directions to collect information. They all came back, and I told them, this is how we're going to put it together, and this is how we're going to present it, and this is how we're going to get our marks. And, we all shot for the moon, of course, and we all landed with A's. By the way, when I finished with that particular module, we all ended up with A mean top marks, because I was their leader. And I told my team what they needed to do in order to bring the A's into their folders. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to use Jesus' words in the correct context so that you can all hit your mark. Remember, hitting your mark is Torah. If you don't hit your mark, you don't hit Torah. You don't get your desire. So we need to understand the words in the correct context so that we may all hit our mark. It's very important. It's very important. I take this very, very seriously. And, I've spent a considerable amount of time experimenting and testing and going through different things in order to understand the application. Because one of the things that I got in my, when I was studying for my engineering degree, one of the things that I got was that I was a very strong implementer. My head said, you are a very strong implementer. When you go for implementation, your implementation skills are excellent. You implement whatever you put your hands to. So when we go for a affirmation, imagine an affirmation as your desire, as something that you're trying to bring into your life. And that may be a job, that may be a spouse relationship, that may be healing, that may be, trying to heal a disease, that may be something else, like maybe a project, in your life that you're trying to accomplish. Whatever it is, that is your goal. Once you put your goal to paper, then the question is, how are you going to bring it to pass? So that is implementation. And implementation, number of skills that we use in implementation. We use scripting in our implementation, which is a great skill. You write about it every day. I don't know who it was I was speaking to. I was speaking to somebody here, and I said to them that you need to write. If you want to script a house, they said, we live in rent. I said, okay, no problem. You live in rent, no big deal. A lot of people in the world today live in rent. I said, you want your own house? Yeah, we like to have our own house. That's what they told me. This is great. You can have your own house, but do you really want it? So I explained to them how they need to script their own house, and they need to script it every day. You see, over here, I can't tell people script it for 8 days and take 20 days, take 22 days off, because they'll probably take the whole month off. They'll be like, well, I've done it for 8 days, and it must come to pass. I'm going to take the rest of the year off. So I have to tell them, you're going to script it every day. If you want your house, you're going to have to script it every day. Why do I say every day to them? Is because I want to see their seriousness. I want to see serious commitment on their part, that they are serious about their endeavor. And so they script it every day. I make them script it every day. I tell them you can take no days off. 300. If this year has 366 days, if this is the leap year, then you're going to script it every day for 366 days. You can't have even a single day off. That's how I tell them, go get yourself a copy and pen. Go get yourself a copy and pen and make sure that the pen is blue or make sure it's red. And then I said, you start scripting. And I'll tell you what to write and you write it. And some of them are doing that. Some of them are already working on it. So now coming back to Jesus' words. And before I give you Jesus' words, I will play the prayer for you afterwards. Here Jesus tells you in verse 24, whatever you ask for in prayer. I think we spoke about prayer many times before, and we said that prayer is actually means talking to God. Prayer is talking to God. Prayer is not, you can recite it in a poem fashion, you can do it in a song fashion, you can do it in, a rhythm, but it's always going to be speaking to God. That is prayer. Pure and simple. Because you often read about, when you go to what Christians term the Old Testament, Torah, we call it Torah, they call it the Old Testament. When you go there, and sometimes we read that Abraham prayed to the king. And it says, Abraham prayed, said, if I may speak, and then it says in words like Abraham prayed. It doesn't say Abraham spoke. Basically, prayer means to speak to somebody. Unfortunately, churches don't explain that terminology. So, you think that you have to lift both of your hands up, or you have to join your hands together, or you have to, fold your hands together, and then you say the prayer. No, you can say your prayer just as you're sitting down, or standing up, or lying down. You're speaking to God. Just as you speak to your neighbor, just as you speak to your spouse, you're speaking to God. And of course, when you speak to God, you speak with some reverence. Just as you would maybe even to your neighbor and to your loved one, you speak with some kind of reverence. You don't look down on somebody when you pray or you speak. So here, when Jesus is saying prayer, Jesus is telling you that you have to first of all ask you have to ask in voice, meaning you ask for something by voice to God. Now, he says believe, and we were looking at the terminology believe, faith. Believe term also you get the word faith out of it, and the Hebrew word emunah, and then the believe word itself. I really don't think that if we look at the word itself, the word belief, pistis, which is a Greek pistis, I don't think it's even important to look at the word pistis or what it actually is about. The reason why I say that is because, understanding the Greek doesn't really tell us nothing, because it doesn't really give us the essence of what is belief. So knowing 2 languages or 3 languages or 10 languages is not going to help our belief. It's not going to help our belief, because, there was do you remember, this is obviously from the book of Mark, as we spoke, verses 24. But if you remember, there was an instance. And here the word pistio is used, for the believe word. But there was an instance in Jesus' life where he meets a man and he says, Lord, please help my belief or my unbelief. He says, please help my unbelief. Now, what does he mean by that? Unbelief. I found this very fascinating, and in for instance, and this is in the book of Mark, and I believe it's verse 24. Let me pull it up. Mark 9:24. We're almost close to it. And it goes as follows from the KJV. It's straight from the KJV, King James Version. And straightway the father of the child cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. Okay, so here what we see in Mark chapter 9, it says they were trying to they were trying to do something, and Jesus said to him, if you canst believe, if thou canst believe, if you cannot believe, if you can believe, basically saying if you can believe, all things are possible. To him that believes, yes, it is. And straightway the father of the child cried out, Lord, he started to cry. He said, Lord, please help my unbelief. And when it says, when Jesus, Yeshua, saw that the people came running together, he rebuked the foul spirit. Because there was a foul spirit there. They were basically dumb and deaf because his foul spirit had made them dumb and they couldn't hear. And he said, I charge thee, I command thee, come out of him and enter no more into him. And as soon as he said this, the spirit left the man. And it says, and Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he arose. And when he came into the house, his disciples asked him privately, why we could not cast him out? I tell you this fantastic story. Absolutely fantastic. I really love this story because it really illustrates an amazing point that, we often don't get to see, and we don't get to kind of, understand what he actually is trying to do. You see, here, his disciples, these are people who sat with him. They ate with him. They drank with him. They were like stuck to him like glue 24 hours of the day. And yet, they could not cast out this spirit from the boy. And then they asked him, they said privately, Rabbi, what is it that you did that we couldn't do? How come you can cast the spirit out? We can't. And you know what he did? He basically he gives them a very simple answer, and he left them, kind of leaves them perplexed. He says, why can't we cast him out? And he said to them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting. You see, again, that word prayer. I remember I spoke about prayer being just a voice, just speaking to God. And he said, this kind can only come out by fasting and prayer. And then, of course, the disciples, the students, they departed and they passed through Galilee, and he would not, any man should know. And it says, he taught his disciples and said unto them, the Son of Man is delivered unto the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and after that he is killed, he shall rise the third day. Anyhow, coming back to the point of belief, here is a demon, here is an evil spirit of some kind, unclean spirit. He is in somebody else, and these people are having a hard time trying to bring him out. And he leaves the point. Now, does that mean that he fasted more? Because obviously, we know from the first century that people fasted twice a week. Monday and Thursdays was fast days in Israel. And most of the Pharisees, they fasted Monday and Thursdays. So, did they not fast enough? So they're a bit perplexed, what the heck, or didn't we fast enough or something? But our master comes over here and he just says this word, and immediately the spirit goes. Obviously, he has something that we don't have. And he leaves them perplexed. That is because you're not, he said this kind, he doesn't say to them that, hey, you haven't done enough fast or you haven't done enough prayer. He says this kind does not come out but by prayer and fast. Now remember, being Jews, these were Jews. A Jew is talking to other Jews. A Jew is talking to other Jews, and Jews all go to synagogue, right? All these Jews go to synagogue, and they go to synagogue. If not, they go every Shabbat. Every Saturday they go to synagogue. Every Friday they go to synagogue. And they probably go to synagogue other times of the week as well. So did they not go to synagogue enough times? Did they not fast enough times when we know that they fasted twice a week? And the question is that that's actually not the answer. That will just lead to more confusion. So let me actually go through the word belief. And the word belief over here, what does belief mean? Now, if you said to yourself, let's come back to the nuts and bolts. If I say to you that you are a millionaire, do you think that you would see $1 million on your bed? If I said to you, you're a millionaire, and are you going to suddenly start seeing million, like bundles of notes on your bed and thinking, oh yeah, I'm a millionaire? The answer is no. The answer is definitely no, because you will not see bundles of notes on your bed. Would you believe seeing it in your account? Would you be thinking, maybe the $1 million in my account? Again, if that was the answer, then the answer would be, no, you won't see it in your account either. Because if you utilize your senses meaning you utilize your imagination by seeing that your notes are in your account or the bundle of notes are on your bed, then neither of those are going to bring the $1 million into your life. So what do you need to do? So what does the word belief mean? Does the word belief mean that I see it in my account, on my statement? Do I see it on my bed? All those answers would be no. None of those are going to bring the $1 million to your account. So what is? See, here comes the word belief. Here is what belief means. Belief means feelings. Feelings. This is very, very powerful once you understand it. Belief does not mean seeing that money is in your account or seeing it's on your bed. No, neither of the two. Belief means that you have the feeling that you have the money. And what is the result of that money? The result of that money is this. You're signing a contract on a house. You're signing a contract on a new car. You are actually living in a house that you signed the contract for. You got the car parked outside. That, by the way, is belief. That is feeling. That is a feeling that you need to have. That is what Jesus was saying to his disciples and the people around him. Believe that you can move that mountain. Well, no one can move a mountain. Come on, let's not be stupid about it. A mountain is a huge, huge thing. A mountain is a huge structure. You and me are not going to move that mountain by hand. But when he spoke about belief, a mountain in a Hebrew sense is a kingdom. It's a city. It might be a state like Texas. It might be a country like USA. So he is speaking about states. Remember we spoke about states last week. Moving the state. He is talking about moving the state with your feelings. Not about, I believe it and I have it and great, that's it. No, it's not that. It's not that kind of belief. The belief he's talking about is feelings. Look, Olivia, what would you feel like if you had the ability right now to go and get a Porsche, from the garage? What would your feeling be like? You'll feel confident. You'll feel in control. You'll feel like you're on top of the world, right? You could just phone the garage and say, hey, you got this such and such model? And they say, yeah, we got such and such model. Okay, can you make a delivery by Friday? Yeah, we can. All right, I'm coming to get it. That's the feeling I'm talking about. You need to have the feelings. That's what the word belief means. The word belief is related to feelings. So, if you have the feelings, then you can receive it. So you must have the feeling. So when Jesus is speaking about belief, he is not talking about, airy-fairy, imagination in your head only. He's talking about the feeling. If for instance, right now, I had $1 million in my account. Okay, let's forget about $1 million. Let's just talk about $100,000. If I had $100,000 in my account, then what would I be feeling like? That is the feeling you need to have. What would I be feeling like? I go down the road, I meet my friend, he says to me, hey, Simon, that land over there, it's worth $50,000. Do you want to buy it? I said, yeah, let's go buy it. I see myself signing that contract because my feeling is I'm feeling great. I'm feeling happy. I have the ability to do it. So when Jesus was talking about belief, he's not talking about some airy-fairy faith and some airy-fairy belief. He's talking about having the desire, the feelings that you can have it, that it is yours. It's already yours. So before my friend comes to me and says to me, oh, see those two plot of lands over there, they're worth $100,000. I believe that you can have them because you have the money to buy it. I say, yeah, sure, let's go get it. That is the feeling that we're talking about. So when Jesus is talking about belief, faith does not here mean trust. Faith here does not mean belief as in airy-fairy belief. It means that you have absolute confidence that this thing is yours and you have the feelings to go with it. Now, this is the hard part. Many people have extreme difficulty to bring the feeling into their life. And the feeling is the secret. That is the secret to attaining your success. What is the stumbling block? What creates the stumbling block is when you try to see the $1 million in your room. That's the stumbling block. If I told you there is $1 million on your bed, you're going to think, what the heck, how am I going to visualize? How am I going to feel? How am I going to know what my feelings are? You've got no idea, because if you've never had $1 million in your home, if you've never had $1 million in your bank, you will never be able to produce the right attitude because you just don't know. Let's be honest about it. If you've never held $1 million, even forget $1 million. Let's talk about $50,000. If you've never held $50,000 in your hand or in your account, cash, you would not know what the feeling is because you've never had it. So how are you going to bring a feeling of something you've never had? This is where we're talking about feelings does not mean visualizing $50,000 notes in your bank. This is where feeling means feeling as in you as a person. It means confidence. Confidence. The word confidence, it would be better if the Bible writers had said, if you have confidence, then you have received it. So, you see, by putting the word prayer and belief, it just becomes, it becomes over there somewhere. Like, everybody can't have it. Everybody is like, well, maybe I didn't pray hard enough. Maybe I didn't believe hard enough. No, neither of those things apply. It simply means that you have created a stumbling block because you don't know how to have the feelings. Now you imagine you go back to the time when you got a new house. You go back to the time you bought your first car and you bought some nice furniture. Now you think about the feelings that you had at that time. That's the kind of feelings that we mean by belief. That's what you need. When you have those feelings, then you will not have no more stumbling blocks. So it's the experience of having that money or that object where you already have done the shopping. So what are the feelings? The feelings of joy, the feelings of being in control, the feelings of financial freedom, etc. and etc. And a lot of people are going to have a hard time visualizing. When you say, isn't it wonderful? Then add the feeling of joy. You see, if you're having a hard time visualizing it, then you must add the feeling of joy and saying, isn't it wonderful? So Rabbi Kefa is saying the acting out of your want. We must become the best Hollywood actors to act out our wants in HD quality. Watch the millionaire, billionaire movies. I absolutely agree. You got to put yourself in that boat where you know you have it and you have your friends coming around. So when you do your visualization techniques, you don't do your visualization techniques thinking, I got a car parked in front of my house. No, you do your visualization technique where you got your visitors, your friends sitting with you, discussing with you, talking to you about your success. And you're talking to them as a matter of fact. and you're saying, hey, yeah, it's great. My business is growing. I'm so happy. I bought 2 cars. They're parked out there. You can see them. And that is as a result of my success. That is knowing. You see, that comes into the space of knowing. So you know that you are successful. You don't have to make it up. So when you start getting those feelings, then that's it. Now, what's the other thing? So the feeling of joy, feeling of control, feeling of confidence. And when you don't know, when you are having difficulty, like if you don't know, I mean, let's not pretend that we're all billionaires, because we're not yet billionaires, but some of us will be billionaires. Rest assured, some of us will be billionaires in this life. And those of us that make it to become billionaires, what will push us to that billionaire goal? It will be us. It will be how we feel. It will be our belief systems. It will be how we act it out. Now, if you have difficulty, if somebody said to you, have the feeling of having $1 billion in the bank, it's going to be very difficult to know what kind of feeling I should have. But how about if I said to you, have the feeling of having $1 billion in the stock market? Then you might start to fall yourself in line, because you might say, yes, I know how Warren Buffett feels with his, 50 or $70 billion in the stock market. So you start to have, all you need to do is have one voucher. If you had one voucher, or maybe when I say a coupon of stocks, maybe you have 50,000 shares of Amazon, you have 50,000 shares of Tesla, and you have 50,000 shares of Apple. Now you start to get the feeling of what it feels like to be, have hundreds of millions of dollars in the stock market. So that's where you're going. Now, what would it feel like when you had 50,000 or 100,000 shares of these companies? 100,000 shares of Tesla, 100,000 shares of Amazon, 100,000 shares of Apple. What would be the feeling like now? Because we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars now. And all it is one coupon that says, Eddie, you are the owner of 100,000 shares in Apple, or you are the owner of 100,000 shares in Tesla. Now you can start to see this happen. See, now you can start to get the feeling, if I had that piece of paper in my hand, you'll be like, isn't it wonderful that I have this belongs to me? See, the joy that you're going to get, the happiness, that's what I'm talking about. That is belief. That is, in its core sense, the belief that you need to have. That you're like holding that piece of paper. You're talking to somebody about that piece of paper. And the thing that you do, you suspend judgment. You suspend judgment. Because some of these things, you're going to have a real hard time visualizing it. You're going to find it immensely difficult to visualize having $1 billion in your bank. Extremely hard. But if you suspend judgment, then you know what you do? You start to speak it. You start to script it. You start to write it. You suspend judgment. What does suspend judgment mean? What did Jesus say? Do not judge or you'll be judged. Suspend judgment. Do not judge. Do not judge the fact that you have $1 billion in the bank. It's not evil to have $1 billion. It's not evil to have $10 billion. Suspend judgment. And you say, I'm a billionaire and it is wonderful. I am a billionaire and it is wonderful. Or I have $1 billion and it is wonderful. Suspend judgment. You do not judge yourself. You do not judge anybody else. You continue to say that. Isn't it wonderful? I have $1 billion in my bank. Continue to say it. Before you go to bed, you say it. And you continue to say it for 60 days, 90 days, until you start to see the outer manifestations of these things. Look, today, I want to give you a little bit of something. Absolutely, Eddie. I'm going to give you a little bit something. In India today, I was listening to some of these Indian people, rich people, and they said that in India today, it has more billionaires now than it did 20 years ago. And India has probably more billionaires than probably US does today. Did you know that India has more billionaires than the US? And India is supposed to be a third world country. So it is not hard to be a billionaire. So we need to suspend judgment. You can't say, oh, it's very difficult to become a billionaire today. No, it's not. Because all you got to do is have an idea. You're going to have one idea. Maybe you put it on the internet. Maybe you apply it in some other way in the real world. And before you know it, you've churned $1 billion by your idea. It could be a product that you're selling on the internet. It could be something you made like these electric vehicle guys. Small components that go into electric vehicles, battery, other things that go into the electric vehicle. They are making people billionaires today. I'm not even talking about the whole vehicle, just parts. Parts. Companies that are producing those little parts are becoming billionaires. So it's not hard for anybody to become a billionaire. All you got to do is have the belief. Belief. What did it say about the belief? It's nothing about trusting here. It's about feelings. You just have the feelings and you suspend judgment on yourself. Do not judge yourself. Don't say, oh, I can't get there. It's not for me. No, you suspend judgment. You say, I am a billionaire and it is wonderful. That's how you suspend judgment. You do not judge yourself just as you wouldn't judge other people. And when you do that, you're on the road to becoming a billionaire. Now, let me give you some ideas. Because you're suspending judgment, before you go to bed for the next whole year, all you're going to say, this is all you're going to say. You're just going to say, isn't it wonderful? And you're not going to say, what is wonderful? You're just going to say, isn't it wonderful? That's it, nothing else. Before you go to bed, you're going to say, isn't it wonderful? You're not judging what is wonderful. You're simply saying, isn't it wonderful? And you go to bed, you fall asleep. Every night you go to bed, isn't it wonderful? You fall asleep. Isn't it wonderful? You fall asleep. And you know what's going to start to happen? Within the next 2 months, you're going to start to see miracles in your life. Things are going to start to click and change. And then you're going to know what is wonderful. Because you suspend judgment to what is wonderful. You just simply say, isn't it wonderful? It could be $1 million. It could be $50 million. It could be a nice home. It could be anything. They will start to appear in your life like magic. You're going to start seeing the magic of multiple things happening in your life. First method. Let's say you want to get $50 million, but you have no idea how to relate the feelings of it to yourself. You have never even heard what's like to have $1 million, let alone 50 million. So what do? You see yourself receiving congratulations on your phone. A friend calls you, congratulates you, says, hey, David, hey, congratulations for that $50 million you received. Or perhaps your sister calls you and gives you congratulations. And all you hear is a phone and a phone call. And, you say, oh my God, I got $50 million. It's awesome. And then, whoever is on the other line says, hey, that's absolutely great. That's absolutely wonderful. It's awesome. And you say, yeah, I'm a millionaire now, or I'm a millionaireess. And it happens so easily. So you play that over and over again. You play that scene like an actor. Because now you're going to be the best Hollywood actor. You're going to play that scene over and over and over. The second method, that's the first method if you don't know how to visualize. The second method is a friend comes to visit you. And he sees the clothes that you're wearing. Beautiful, expensive clothes. And he gives you congratulations, says, hey, what's happened in your life? And you say, hey, I'm a millionaire now. I just received, $10 million. And I'm so happy. So you produce the feelings. That, by the way, is called belief. The third method is where you write an email testimony, like you're writing to me an email testimony. And you might say to me, Rabbi, I'm so happy that, I have received, this jackpot win of $100 million. I manifested my desire. It's wonderful. So you will write this email like you're writing to me, or maybe you're writing to your sister, or maybe you're writing to a family member. So you write that email every day. Those few lines of text, you write it every day as it is if it has happened to you. You do not need to see the money in your bank. You just need to have the feelings. The feelings of joy. This is what the word believe means. Believe actually means to taste, to experience the outer expression of belief. It's like when I put a lemon, I take a lemon, I cut the lemon in half, and imaginative lemon, and I put it in my mouth, and the lemon's not there, but I feel that tangy taste in my mouth. That's basically what belief is. If you can get to that point of belief, then you can get your money, you can get your desires, you can get anything you want in this life. That's the point you need to get to. And so it doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter, It doesn't matter whether you write 100 million or you write 1,000 million. Numbers don't matter. It's your personal state. The state that you put yourself into is what you're going to be. Now let me actually share something else with you. If I can find it over here. Let me see if I can find it. I don't recall where I put it, but let me just see if I can locate it. Let's see, where are we? Okay, I know there was a Hebrew Sounds was one. Okay, Hebrew Sounds was one. Okay, the Hebrew Sounds, like I said, I recorded a new Hebrew Sounds today. If you want these Hebrew Sounds, you can write to me to my email from the Abrahamic-Faith.info website or Forever-Israel.com website, and I can send those to you. No problem. Now, if I can find my other one, and looks like I'm gonna have. Let's see, where are we? I don't know where I put it. Probably missing in action. I think I had it. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna play this. Listen to this. Avon Vishneya Nitkadash Shmach Tete Melchutach Livve Savianach Ekenna Vishmeya Up Bara Have Lam Lachman Sunkanan Yomana Oshavot Lan Chobain Ekenna Up Hanan Shwagan Chayavain Ula Talan Lisyona Ella Pasan Min Bisha Motul Dilach Hib Melkuta of Hela Tishpuchta La Alam Almin Amin. Okay, so by the way, that if you heard it, I don't know how loud that was. I played it to the full, as loud as I could on this end. That was the Aramaic prayer to Yeshua, Jesus. The Aramaic prayer, that was Jesus' language at the time, 2,000 years ago. He spoke in Aramaic, and I played back to you the Aramaic prayer. It's a little different to the Hebrew, but it is very powerful. And I've recorded it. I didn't want to record it too fast because it wouldn't sound, like you may not even hear the sounds properly. So I recorded it as slow as I could so you could pick up the sounds. Now that is a very, very powerful prayer. And if you just listen to that prayer every day, that will change your life, period. I guarantee it. If you just listen to that prayer, it will change your life. Because it's exactly the same prayer that you read in Matthew chapter 6. Avenu Sheb Shemayim, our Father in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done. It is that prayer. But it is in the Aramaic language, the very language that Jesus and his disciples spoke. And of course, they were Hebrew fluent as well, and they probably could speak in Greek language as well. And I'm pretty sure they could speak in Latin as well. So multilingual. So the idea is that, if you want, those of you want it, write to me. I can send you this. Make this part of your listening to this language daily, because it has sounds. And when I spoke those sounds, it has some very powerful sounds in it. And those sounds will help to activate the areas of your intelligence. And this is not intelligence from this world, from going to university and studying 3 or 4 years for a degree. These are the kind of sounds that will activate areas of your brain that make the connection to God for you, and that make openings for you of abundance, wealth, joy, happiness. Now, of course, everybody is not a fluent Aramaic speaker. You could say the words in English. Nothing wrong with saying the words in English. They're beautiful words. You could say them in English. But I would suggest to you, listen to the actual language that was spoken at the time. And they will have much more effect on your life. So, if you want the Hebrew sounds that I recorded today, that's one. And this is the second that I recorded. So these are the two separate notes for you today that I encourage you to listen to daily as part of your regime, that will help to open up yourselves to further abundance in your life. Hebrew stroke Aramaic, these are powerful languages. These are ancient languages, and they have the power of their own by themselves, the words. And, did you hear the last two words? Al-Min, Amin. See what I mean by people, speaking about don't use the word Amen? See how wrong they are? You've got to be very careful about who you listen to. Be careful about who you listen to, that your life may benefit and be a blessing to you and to others. And if you're a blessing to others, then you will grow. And you will grow infinitely. And you will leave a mark behind in your family. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Rabbi Kefa. Great talking to you. Have a great Shabbat, great week ahead. And over to you, Rabbi Kefa. Todah, Shabbat Shalom.
Todah Rabbi HaKohen, if I can I get a one? Todah Rabbi for your instruction and the guidance going forward. That's going forward, and I tell you, I just sent the screenshot of the weather down here in San Antonio, Texas, and I tell you, it's pretty nippy over here. Pretty nippy indeed for us here in San Antonio, Texas. So I'm truly delighted to actually get involved with the seasons. And Hakohen, I tell you what, this teaching that we're getting here, this instruction that we're getting from the Kohen, second to none. Those of you who are listening on Facebook, or those of you who are listening on YouTube, you all understand this as well. And I tell you, we're on a different level, and I say that in all humility, but understanding that we do have and that we've been given from our Kohen, this is so valuable, so valuable. You cannot put a value on it. And piggybacking off what our Kohen said, I will tell you this week. In my meditations, what has come to me this week is this word, and it really does kind of sum up everything, but the word is teachability. When I say teachability, family, what does that mean to you? Teachability. Teachability? I have it all in one word, but that doesn't exist. It's actually two words. Teachability. What does that mean? What does that mean to you when I say teachability? You see, because as students of human nature, and as you can see with our laws, all of our laws, when it comes to the ancient laws of our forefathers, the ancient laws of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they relatively, for the most part, when you look at percentages, deal with what? Deal with other human beings. Our laws teach us how to get on a relationship with other people. How many of you understand that? You want to be marked as a child of Israel. The evidence, the proof in the pudding will be in your relationship with other people. How you get on with other people is really a sign on if you're a child of Israel or not, basically. But even more importantly, what we're being taught by the HaKohen is how to get on with ourselves. Because let's face it, when we look at it as students of human nature, maybe we have experiences as well. We look at this and we say this, and I'm pretty sure some of you may have said it, one time or another. Men and women, you say this, you make this statement. You'll say, "I got my feelings hurt." Has anybody ever said that before? Like, he hurt my feelings or she hurt my feelings. Anybody has ever said that in their lifetime experience? You said that, well, I got my feelings hurt, or she hurt my feelings, he hurt my feelings. You see where I'm going with this? But it's very important that we do understand this. And the reason why is because of the conditioning. And one of the key things that we're told in our relationship laws, when we look at the perfect law, it's all about teachability. In our relationship laws, we're taught and we're told how to get on with each other, how to make amends with one another, how to treat other people the way we would want to be treated. This is all perfect law stuff at its ground roots level. That we must begin and we must understand. We truly must understand. And as we talk about teachability, you will see what I'm talking about. But when we talk about teachability, I juxtapose teachability with another ability, and that's usability. Because from what I can see in my study of human nature, either you fall into one or two categories, and then sometimes you're flip-flopping in between the two. We flip-flop in our lives between the two, between teachability and usability. How many of you have ever used the term, "Oh, I've been used"? "Oh, you used me." "Oh, you used me and abused me." I mean, these things happen in life, in particular kinds of relationships. Sema talks about humble enough to learn, teachability, humble enough to learn. Line, for instance, talks about teachability being the desire to learn and willingness to change. Teachability. The teachability factor is key amongst our people and amongst our way of life and amongst our way of living. You must be teachable. HaKohen said something at the end of his lecture that was very important as well. He talked about, okay, if you're willing to be taught, who's teaching you? You see, who do you listen to get the teachability factor, to really understand, am I teachable? Can I be taught? Am I willing to be taught? Usable. People just use you up. And that can come in many forms. And we're warned against this in our relationship laws here that we talked about we're warned against this. And I'm going to give you a few examples of how we're warned against this in our Torah and our holy books. Look at Exodus chapter 23, verse 1. And again, I read from the Abrahamic-Faith Bible, with Hidden Truly Break Scrolls. You don't have this Bible, please purchase it. You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it on Lulu as well if you want a hardback copy. But this will really assist you in your growing and understanding of the creator of all things for mankind to choose this earth. When we look at Exodus chapter 23, verse 1, it says, "You shall not circulate false report. Do not put your hand with the wicked to be a wicked witness." This is an example, right? This right here is an example of what I was talking about earlier about usability. You put yourself in a particular camp, and we're warned against this. We're warned, our fathers are warned against buy a land. When we go in and take a land, which is our promised land, that's promised to us forever, by the way, real estate owners that you are, is that we must guard against this. Can anybody tell me why, what's the big hoogaloo, that's the word that I just made up. What's the big humbug about going to fortune tellers? What's the big deal about that? Well, what's the problem with doing that? Anybody want to take a shot at it? You're going to see fortune tellers. You're going to get your palm read and blah blah. When you get to the root, what's the big deal about all that? Why are we warned not to do that? You want to know why? I'm going to tell you why. It's because of the usability. You go to these people, and then You don't tell them what you want. You allow them to take your vessel and tell you what you're going to be. And believe me, soothsayers, palm readers come in many forms today. And if you don't believe me, just look at all the social media out here. For all of you watch all this TV. Do you not believe that these people are doing the same thing? They're hoodwinking and bamboozling you into believing and thinking a certain way, where you give up your vessel, you give up self, and you put it in the hands of somebody else to tell you what you're going to be and what you're going to do. Who wants that kind of life? But to where you have to depend upon somebody else to tell you how your life is going to be. Can anybody be honest this day and say, well, at one time or another, I was in that category? To where I allowed the manipulation of somebody else to tell me, well, out of ignorance, you could just be ignorant. You don't know any better. And there's a lot of ignorant people out there that just don't know any better. And I say that in all humility, not trying to shame anyone, but some folks are just ignorant. And you don't know. I was in that camp at one time. I put up a 1 to where I believed that myself. Come on now. If you can't say, oh, me, say, oh, my. At one time or another, we were probably all in that camp to where we allowed the manipulation. We allowed ourselves to be manipulated by a person, place, or a thing. They had to where you literally gave up your vessel. You gave up control. You tell in the future, just not fight. You see, the importance on other people of the books is to take control. The teaching that Hakohen gave us today is going to help us take control of what we want, what we desire. We are the ones that call that out. We don't have to go to somebody else and then phone in a friend to get, guidance on how you want your life to be run and dictated. You see, that's the usability side. You're just being used. You're a vessel. And you freely give it up to somebody else, to a pastor, to a man or a woman, husband or wife, a friend, a complete stranger that you pay money to tell you about what's going to happen to you, how your life is going to turn out. Do you see how dangerous that is? Put up a capital D if you're really starting to understand how dangerous that really is. Or just for a group, or to be manipulated by the masses to where they can come in and begin to foster their beliefs upon you. See, this is one of the reasons why we had to go in, when we had to occupy lands, we go in and we had to take the people, we had to remove the people like we told in our Torah. You got to remove them. Why? Because they can become dangerous to you. Or let's read it like what the Torah says. The Torah says in Exodus chapter 23, verse 33, that they should not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. Well, how are they going to make us sin against the Most High, the powers of Israel? Because you're going to go from an individual that has self-thought and that has wants and dreams for themselves and desires and feelings for themselves to a what? To a person that what? Let's continue to read the verse, by the way, Exodus 23:33. For if you serve other powers, it will surely be a trap to you. What do you mean by serving other powers? To where you give up your vessel, you give up your feelings to want to feel like everybody else, the quote-unquote consensus. You see? Well, we've been doing this before you even came here. We've been doing things this way. Before you know it, you're complying. And before you know it, you've been conditioned to want to do exactly what they've been doing. Instead of doing what you want, instead of doing what you desire. Don't be trapped, Mishpahah. Don't fall for the trap, for the straight up trap, because that's what it is. And through our experiences, we've been trapped enough to where we understand what a trap is. We got to see what the trap is. We got to see it so we don't fall for the trap. Sometimes folks will take your humility and your meekness for a weakness. And before you know it, they try to exploit you. And before you know it, you've been cloned into one of them. When your intentions started out good, but then they were able to get in because peak in that area to where you didn't have your. against this. I didn't even see that. Benches look so good. They look like this nice little woolly sheep, but when they took off when the sheep clothes came off, there was a wolf underneath there, and I was devoured, and I was wounded, I was maimed, had a leg bitten off. We need to learn from our experiences. Sometime or another in this period of life that you're involved in right now, you're going to run across these kind of experiences. Learn from them, remember them, and then put your guard up so they don't happen again. You see, the usability factor. I see it a lot. I see it a lot. And the soothsayers and the truth, they don't come in the form of these, I'm going to this tent and I'm going to give these people my money and they're going to tell me what's going to become of my life. Come on, man. Television does that for you now. If you're watching all this mumbo jumbo, before you know it, you're no longer, I am a Hebrew, I am a Republican, I'm a Democrat. That's what comes first. No. Rise up and wake up, Israel. Remember, our laws are all about relationships and to build proper relationships based on just and fair, not on division, but on multiplying and being all inclusive to all peoples. And not running around here like we learned here in our parsha here. We're told about some of these relationship laws. Not running around here circulating false report. Not running around here following a crowd. That's what you do when you get on these media platforms and you begin to believe everything that they say. Before you know it, they got your feelings. And before you know it, you're in a protest crowd. And you're like, well, what happened? How did I get here? Just following the crowd. Because they've taken over your feelings. And you're not one to harbor hate, but now all of a sudden you harbor hate and animosity against another person. Because they may have a D by their name and you have an R. That's asinine to me. I don't get that. But that's people that have fell into the trap of usability instead of being teachable. Because let's talk about the teachable side, because that's the most important side. That's the positive side of it. See, the teachability factor is this, is that you want to be taught something. All of you in this room right now is because you want to be taught something that's going to help you get to your end game, which is your what? Meeting your marks. Your end game is whatever you desire for yourself. So you want to be taught something that's going to help you and assist you, that's going to help you meet your desires, meet your dreams, your wants, to give you complete fulfillment in this life. So you're here to be taught. You're a student and you want to be taught. In all humbleness, you're here. And you want to be taught things that's going to help you do what? Manifest your wants, not manifest the wants of how other people think you should want. If you look at commercials, they hit you with it all the time. Oh, this is what you want. This is what you want. All a commercial is telling you what you want. How many of you understand that? And they keep playing the commercial over and over again. Before you know it, that's what you want. you know what I mean? It starts off real subtle. That just hits you. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. These Frito-Lays, eating Frito-Lays sitting in front of the TV. And then another commercial with the Frito-Lays, and they eating Frito-Lays, watching a football game. And before you know it, you get off of work, and the first place you stop, you get into the Walmart, and you're going to go get you some Frito-Lays. You see, they take over your feelings. That's what they do. Oh, I feel like eating some of that. That's what I feel like. That's all commercials are, feel-like moments. Movies do the same thing. This is why it's so important, and we've been taught, if you're a student of teachability, you've been taught to watch certain kind of movies. I tell you, I look forward to that new Godzilla and the new Godzilla movie that's coming out. And King Kong. Oh my goodness, I love it. I grew up on Godzilla. So anyway, and even in the particular movies that you're watching. If you're watching all these movies, it's going to make you feel sad. Well, guess what's going to happen to you? You're going to feel sad. But on the flip side, I want to watch movies that's going to, help fuel my success for what I want. Not sadness, but for success. If some of you need more love in your life, then you need to watch love movies. That's all about love. Love for your mate. Watch these kind of movies. Don't watch the movies as, oh yeah, you're watching these movies about, oh, how the woman killed her husband. Or the husband killed the woman. No, that's not cool. Because then what are you going to harbor? You're going to go out and you're going to start to harbor, and you're going to give up your vessel to wanting to do bad things to your mate. And that's not cool. That's not just and fair. It's all about relationships, children of Israel. We have particular laws that are in place. And the majority of our laws, especially when it comes to this parasha, the majority of our laws deal with how we get on with other people. Semi saying, please text me the Aramaic prayer via WhatsApp. I cannot send or receive emails. So it's very, very important that we understand that. It's so very, very important that our teachability factor is there. And it's very, very important, family, those of you who listen on Facebook, listen on YouTube, whatever social media outlet that's out there, listening live in this room, that we understand that we want to make sure that we are teachable. And we need to ask ourselves the question, am I teachable? Or is my teachability factor high, or is my usability factor high? To where I'm here, that's so you can just use me for whatever you want to do to me. I spent periods of my life being that particular kind of usability vessel, to where I was so busy trying to please other people that I never considered myself in a relationship. My relationship was about the other. But again, that's something that's been conditioned to us, that we have to give up of ourselves. No, you must love yourself. You must have good feelings about yourself. And this is the teachability factor that's occurring with us with the Kohen. He's teaching us how to really understand how to have feelings. How to have those feelings is going to help us get us what we want and what we desire. Not what other people telling us what we want and what we desire. Let me give you another example. We do the census, and how many of you ever fill out an application? And on your application, they ask you many questions. One of the main questions they always ask you is, what's your race? And, they tell you on that piece of paper what you have to choose from, right? They'll tell you on the application. I always make another box. I make a new box. Because I don't consider myself black. I don't consider myself an African American. So I actually put a box in there. You know what I mean? And I actually put a box in there, and I always put, I'm Hebrew, I'm a Jew, and I just leave it just like that. None of the other bells and whistles, but that's just something that I'm teaching myself to do. Because, if we're not careful, and it can be real subtle, we can be placed in these classes where we don't want to be. And you don't want to be in a place where you just don't want to be. You just need to be with yourself and comfortable with yourself and where you are. And not other people telling you what you have to be or where you fit in this particular class. And they ask you, some of these forms ask you, are you a Republican, are you a Democrat, and blah, blah, blah. No, I put none. I put, I created a new box. You know what I put? I put neutral. You know what? They're libertarian. They give you all this. No, I'm not going to, you can't fit me in your classes. You have to be careful of that. Atara says she's put in an NA. There you go. Does not apply. Inapplicable. Does not apply to me. And we need to do these things. You see, because I'm not nobody's number. I'm an individual. I'm myself. Unique in many different ways. The Most High, the powers, the creators of the heavens and the universes have made us all unique. Why we want to, cast ourselves and put ourselves in a group, in a box. We're not in a group and we're not in a box, Israel. We have this whole world to take dominion over. Why are we concerned with just, this class or that class or the other class? And then, if we're not careful, we'll get angry somebody that's against our particular class. That's not where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be just right and fair in everything that we do and everything that we say. And in our laws, and these human nature laws that we have here in this parsha, begin to tell us and teach us about it. Don't follow the crowd. Don't pervert justice. Preserve justice. Don't pervert it. Exodus 23:2. Don't circulate false report. Exodus 23:1. Leave wickedness to the wicked people. Anything that's preventing you, you may see as a stumbling block that's preventing you from getting what you want is wicked. It's evil. That's what it is. Anything that would come against particular feelings that you do have, by the way. Relationship with other people is thus our relationship with the powers of Israel. That's what it's all about. But more important. Because believe me, how many of you in this room want your feelings to be dictated about how other people feel about you? Oh, I've been there, done that. Oh, I made them feel sad, so guess what? I'm not happy with myself. Because I made them feel sad. Not about how I feel. I've been there, done that, Ms. Bahar. That's not a good place. That's usability side. No, how do I feel? How do I feel about myself? And we need to change that into however we want to feel. Some folks, what you're going to understand is they get energy off of negativity, and that's where they dwell. And you must see that for yourself. And you must, steer clear of these kind of people. You must move these people out. You must remove these people, as the Torah says. These people must be removed from your particular environment. Because they cannot foster what you want. What our Kohen is teaching us is to foster what we want, what we desire in this life. And this life is indeed wonderful. It's indeed beautiful. Because that's how I see it. And other people around me may think I'm crazy. Or I'm a couple of sandwiches short of a picnic basket. Because they can't understand how the heck can you even think that way with everything that's going around us. They talk about the plague, you're pandemic. You know what I tell them? I said, I'm a Jew. We're conditioned to pandemics. We're conditioned. They're like, huh? What does that mean? But yeah, you have to put everything in a perspective, as Pharaoh exits stage left. That's very important for us to understand. Teachability factor. We have to teach the human race how to be humans. And more importantly, how to be beings. Because they have the human side down. But the being side, they hadn't scratched the surface. Because they don't understand that all your feelings are rooted from within yourself, not without. I don't know if they do this in the RSAHK, but they have a day over here in North America that they celebrate as the Day of Love. They call it Valentine's Day, right? You see everybody right now buying all kind of candy and, hearts and love. Okay, yeah, so we have the season, and it's called, am I here? Am I back? Yeah, ta-da. We have this season, and it's called, Valentine's Day. Oliver, do y'all have that in France as well, this Valentine's Day? But anyway, it's a day that they consider the day. Love is in the air. Blah, blah, blah. But get this, right? It's a day of love. Yes, but look, I would let day over here. No, tomorrow, I don't know. It's one of these days coming up soon because, These stores are jam-packed full of chocolate. If they're jam-packed full of chocolate, you know, I'm a big chocolate fan, by the way. But anyway, so they're jam-packed full of chocolate. I'm like, my goodness, you know, you get chocolate, you get your chocolate one day, and then the next day you're back at each other's throat, and you don't like each other, and you're calling them all outside of their name and blah blah blah. Well, what is that? You see, that's the usability side. Of course, commercialism. When you look at it from the chocolate sales standpoint, it's a great day to, you know, sell some chocolate. But again, what is it if there's nothing rooted in the factor of knowing and really teaching love instead of using love as a tool, usability versus teachability factor? You know, all my friends, they're out there, they buying these big old, you know, floral arrangements and all these nice things to give to their mates, and I'm like, cool with it. But you know, half of them they're already in other relationships with and doing all kind of things behind them, and I'm like, wait a minute, you know what does this really mean here? It's all a prop. It's a usability. It's a usability factor. Where you just followed along and it's out for you. You know, your clarity on the Valentine's Day is on the 14th over here. Is that, and once it's over with, then it's done and dusted, and things are back to the quote unquote normal, where I don't love you. Matter of fact, I love somebody else, and I don't want to be with you. I'm gonna detest you. I don't love you at all, and I'm gonna treat you like crap for the other 364 days out of the year. And so this is what, yeah. You know, it definitely is a phase, but you don't want that. You want love based, rooted from from the root, and that's just loyalty, trust, and action. Just love in action phased in. Where love is in action, where you see love every day, 365 days out of the year. Love is shown to you. It is implied. It is put into practice. It is, like Akoya said in his lecture, it is implemented. Implemented action of love. Every 365 days. And that's beautiful. That's when love is beautiful, not when you pick a day out of the year and you just do that. You just do that day, and then after that, then it's nothingness anymore. But you see, that's what happens on the usability side. The product, or I would say the result on the usability side would be nothingness, because you get nothing out of it. You're being used and used and used, and then nothing comes out of it for your benefit. So you must guard against the usability side. And that can happen in the media. That can happen with a person, place, or thing. It doesn't matter. Media they try to make you choose sides. And I'm like, wait a minute. Just put the facts out there. That's all you have to do. And let people decide. You know, put the facts out there. Put the facts outside. You don't try to make people. Got Robin Hood into a lot of trouble just to trade one way. You know, you can't limit them to just to trade one way. Just put all the facts out there, and the people gonna lose all their money, you know, in ignorance because they don't know how to trade. They're trading against the grain, or they trading one. Then so be it. And they're trading based on euphoria, which we saw. Then so be it. Then they're gonna lose all their money, or they're gonna gain a lot of money. It's unfortunate, but there's stories out there that Robin Hood is being sued because, you know, behind this, you know, this big frenzy of trading, especially with the GameStop stock, that, you know, individuals have committed suicide. They've taken their life. They've taken their life when they realize, man, I just lost $750,000 and I don't have that money. I don't have that money. I don't have it. Whilst others have good feelings about themselves because, you know, they've taken a lot of money to the bank, and it's changed their lives. And I gave you one story last year about that. It's really benefited them in such a way, and they're full of joy and happiness, and excited, and want more of it. But that's what you get. You have to, you know, perfect law is all about the law you have to have the yin with the yang. You have to have the good with the bad. You have to be able to sail up and you have to be able to sail down. That's just and fair, and that's what's right. Now, the decisions that they make, it's going to be on them. Same way with you. The decision that you make should be on you. It should not be dictated what somebody else is going to tell you how you're going to make a decision. To me, that's asinine. To me, that doesn't make dollars and it doesn't make any sense. For you to give up your right as a vessel created by the powers of Israel, by the powers of the universes, to give up your right to an ability to choose to someone else and let them make the decisions for you. And you put your faith in that. Oh, oh my goodness. That's anti-Torah. That's against everything that the Torah stands for. The master, Yeshua ben Yosef, talked about the same thing when he walked the face of this earth. He didn't say it the way I'm saying it. But are you trying to tell the people and encouraging the people to take control of yourself and your feelings for yourself? How do you feel? I can just run around here, go steady in all your ways. Lines here are probably frozen because, as you can see, the temps in San Antonio are dropping like no man's business. Pharaoh, he went out to potty, he's walking on the deck, and he runs out. He's on the deck and he slips. A funny scene. He looked like I imagine a hamster on a treadmill. Because he was running, his feet was going 100 miles an hour, but he was not moving anywhere because there's ice on the deck. There's total ice out there, I tell you. It's something else. We don't have this kind of weather. They're talking about shit. Monday, which I don't blame them. Yeah, Monday, single digits. We're supposed to be down to 9 degrees. I think that is no fair. We're Celsius, I think. So that's pretty cold. I mean, that's cold for San Antonio when we used to be in shorts and muscle shirts. So I think we need to. So if the lines are kind of not acting right, it's probably because they're frozen. And so we'll keep it moving though. We'll keep it moving because we all have desires and wants that we want for ourselves. All of us do. Teachability came to me this Shabbat. Teachability. We must be willing to be taught, but not just by anybody. We don't want to be taught by Fox News. We don't want to be taught by MSN. We want to be taught by ourselves. We want to love ourselves, and we want to make, like I said, I tell you, what a great way to put it. Belief is feeling. It is feelings. It is how you feel. And you hear people all the time with the words that come out of their mouth. You know what they say? They talk just the opposite. They say, I don't feel good. And if you notice, when you go in for a checkup or you go into the doctor, what's the first thing that they ask you? They ask you, how do you feel? And so you begin to tell them how you feel. So you go to the doctor to get better, right? And the first question that they ask, one of the first questions is, how do you feel? What are your symptoms? How do you feel? Isn't that something? So when we want to go to doctor ourselves, one of the first things that we need to correct is how we feel about ourselves. Thus, in the relationship with ourselves is very important. Thus, this will springboard out to the relationship that we have with other folks around us. Humanity, human beings, your family members, your friends and loved ones. It all stems from how you feel about yourself. Because you don't want to go into a crowd and let the crowd change you, but you want to go into the crowd and change the crowd. That's what we are. We're light. We don't go into a dark crowd and become darkness. Yah forbid. We go into a crowd and we illuminate. We give them joy. We give them happiness. We give them love. That's why if you're not good at telling jokes, go buy some books on jokes and just begin to start telling jokes. to bring laughter and to change the mood, change the feeling. There's songs that talk about, I think it says clean jokes. Well, clean is relative. Clean, depending on what crowd you're dealing with, clean is kind of relative there. Clean jokes, or however you want to joke around, it's relative to you. So we have to examine all this. We want to go in and we want to change the atmosphere. We want to change the environment on how we like it. Everywhere we go, we do that. This is light in action. This is light, implemented. Sema says box, check other. I'm if I ain't no Asian Hebrew, to me all ethnic colors hues are included with lots of love. Oh, indeed. I formulate a new box. I like to put new boxes. They're like, whoa, where the heck did this box come from? That's just how I roll. Because I want to go in and change my environment to how I want it. That's just how it is. I'm in control of my life. And not many people can say that. A lot of folks can't say they ain't in control of their life because their life is being controlled. They're like a puppet. Or more importantly, like those puppets with the strings on them. And they can start moving them around and stuff and manipulating them or however they want to manipulate their mind, manipulate how they think, manipulate their feelings, manipulate what they want. Because half folks don't know what they want. They don't know what they desire. They're being told what they want and they're being told what they should desire. Not what folks really want at the end of the day. As students of human nature, that may be a great question, and you need to go out and ask folks is 6 days of labor. What do you want? What do you want? Not what the boss man is saying you want, or not what, your friend over there has. You just want what they, no, what do you want? You see, it's all about what we want. As human beings, what do you want? Not what other people are going to tell you what you want. Because that is the biggest stumbling block that's going to prevent you from meeting any marks. Because you don't have any marks for yourself anyway. What is it good to go through life when you don't have any marks for yourself because your marks are what other people want for you? You're being used. It's usability. We must recognize these two terms. Teachability factor, not only just being taught, because you can be taught by Hagen, but it's being taught by the right person. Who do you listen to in your teaching? It's key. But teachability factor has got to be there. You got to be able to be taught. How are you able to be taught? You listen, and then you're able to follow through. We will do, we will hear. You listen, and then you have to be able to, as Kohe put it so aptly, you have to be able to implement. Implement actions that are going to help you reach your desired goal, your desired want, your desired dream. Your desires. Because I know all of you have more than one. And the formula has been given to us, and we continue to enhance the formula. Moses, at the end of this parsha, he was called up by the Most High, by the powers of Israel, to the mountain and the clouds to get more commandments, get more instruction, so that he could come down and do what? And teach. So he come down and teach the people. You see, it's not just listening. Oh, yeah, Rabbi, I'm teachable. I listen to everybody. Ooh, that's wrong. You need to select your teachers very, very carefully. And use the pattern of our ancient ways, our forever ways. How many teachers did Israel have? How many teachers did the Hebrews have? Let's look at that. Let's look at the pattern. Let's look at the pattern. And for those of you who are listening via YouTube and Facebook as well, you can't have all these teachers out there. You can have mentors out there that are helping you get to your wants. You can have many mentors. But when it comes to teachers, my goodness. Look at the pattern of our forefathers. That'll give you great guidance. I remember my father telling me when I reached the age of 18. He told me this, and it stayed with me. It still stays with me to this day. He said, "It cannot be two kings in a castle." Anybody get what my father was telling me? There cannot be two kings in a castle. Anybody get that? Anybody get the insinuation that my father was giving me? Basically, he was telling me it's time for you to get out. It's time for you to go out and make it on your own. You're 18 years old. You're a man now. There cannot be two kings in a castle. You go out and create your own castle. You go out and make your own castle for yourself. But there cannot be two kings in a castle. I fully got that. So I just went and got me a dorm room. Because I was getting what he was saying. It was time for me to branch out. It was time for me to get out there and do it. He'd done all that he could. Now it's time for me to go out and make it. Make it on my own. To establish myself. And that's important. That's an important role. But just the way he put it, I'll never forget it. There cannot be two kings in a castle. It's time for me to pack my bags. The same way when it comes to you, you cannot be ruled by so many different people. You are your ruler. Choose your counsel wisely, children of Israel. And our formula is already set, so you don't have to go out and recreate the wheel. The wheel's already spinning. The question is, are we going to roll with the wheel? See, that's the question. Here's something that you might find very interesting. In the King James Version of the Bible, I look up the word teach. Anybody want to take a guess on, out of all the books, let's just start with the books of the Torah. Which book is the word teach used the most? Out of all the books in the Torah, the 5 books, first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah of Moshe, Torah of Moses. Which book, anybody want to take a guess? Which book uses the word teach the most? Anybody want to take a guess at it? Okay, for the Torah, it would be the book of Deuteronomy. The book of Deuteronomy has 13 verses, according to the King James Version, with the word teach in it. Okay? Now, when we look at the 66 books of the Bible, as the King James Version has it, anybody want to take a guess which book out of all the 66 books of the King James Version of the Bible has the word teach, has the most verses with the word teach in it? Anybody want to take a guess at that one? Anybody? Quite interesting for this one. This one was quite interesting. It was actually the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms has the word teach in it, the verses with the word teach in it, 25 times. Quite interesting. King James Version of the Bible, that is. So, the question comes in again, and I must reiterate, is that we must be teachable. You must have the ability to be taught. How do you judge the ability to be taught? Is that there must be some results, and the implementation must be of success. You must be finding some success. And how do you know? Oh yeah, you're going to know. And just like Cody said, you'll know about how you feel. How you feel about it. Oh, I feel like this is working. Then it's going to work for you. Oh, I feel like this ain't working. Maybe I ought to try something else. And maybe you ought to try something else. You see, I always knew the creator of the heavens and the universes gave us feelings for a reason. Some people call it emotions, whatever you want to call it. But these were given to us for a reason. Now I'm beginning to understand at some level as a student of the Torah, is that these feelings help us reach our levels of success on however we view success, to reach our levels of success, our levels of happiness, our levels of peace. You see, if you feel depressed, can you be at peace? They contradict each other, right? That's a contradiction. Oh, I'm depressed, but I'm at peace. No. That's contradiction. You're contradicting yourself. You see, so it's a state of being that we have to be in to. How many of you, when you have the choice between the BMW on one side and the hoopty that's about 15 years old on the other side, and And you have the ability to choose which one you want. How many of you going to go for the hoopty? Oh, not many folks going to go for the hoopty. But you'll go for that BMW. You go for that BMW. Why? It's because of the quality. Yo, this is going to be better quality. So how do we improve on the quality? Our feelings help us improve. Enhance our ability to perform. BMWs are good performance cars. Mercedes-Benz, good performance cars. They perform well over periods of time, over long periods of time. They perform very well for you. But you get that 15-year-old, 20-year-old, 10-year-old hoopty, it might not be too reliable. It may be difficult to find parts for it when it breaks down. So we want our performance to be at optimal levels so that we can be as successful as we want to be, so that we can experience in this life that infinite abundance that's real and does exist. As children of the covenants, it's real. But what do we have to do? We have to make it real in our lives. You see it as real. You feel real. You got to feel real. And that's what it is. And that's what. So it is indeed wonderful. It truly is indeed wonderful. When we understand the teachability role, and that we as human beings, we must be willing to be taught. But not just by anybody. Be mindful of who teaches you. And understand and always be on guard against the usability factor. Because there's always folks out here trying to prey on folks and just use them for their benefit, not for your benefit. Consider that going forward, these 6 days of labor. And see if you're being used and abused, or if you're truly taught. Being taught properly. Is it meeting your end goal? Is it meeting that want, that desire? Is it manifesting that want, that desire that you want for yourself, that mark? Is that mark checked off so you can move to the next one? Or no, it's not doing any of that. Then you need to redirect. You don't want to be on the usability side of things, to where other folks are helping. You're helping other folks meet their desires and their wants, but there's nothing in it for but an empty shell. No, you're full. You're not empty. You're full. You're Israel. You're already full. Claim it. Bring and welcome that fullness into you, because you are full. You indeed are. Never see yourself as empty or even half empty. You're full. Matter of fact, your cup even runneth over. You see? That's real. That is really real to me. So consider that going forward in our perfect law. That relationships with other people, more importantly, relationships with ourselves. Relationships start with ourselves first. Begin to love yourself. Have feelings for yourself. On this Valentine, whatever love day, go buy yourself something. And then after this day is done, go buy yourself something else. And then 365 days, do something for yourself. Every day, do something for yourself. Our Kohen and our teachability factor has given us things to do something for ourselves every single day, to benefit ourselves, to give us that good feeling about ourselves, that great feeling about ourselves, that wonderful feeling about ourselves. There's nothing in this world that we can't accomplish for ourselves. Many things we can't accomplish for other people, because, let's face it, at the end of the day, it's not our concern. Our concern is to care for ourselves. It's to care for ourselves. Thus, caring for ourselves, we have better relations with everybody that's around us. And that's the kind of relations that we need to have as the people of the books. Consider that going forward. You see, that name, Hebrew, Abrahu, however you want to pronounce it, that has a lot of weight to it. And that name is powerful. That name has been carried out throughout the centuries. It's an ancient name. Abraham was referred to as the Abrahu. The Hebrew is here. The God of the Hebrews. That's how Pharaoh got it. The Abrahu, Rukashem. Don't take that name lightly. and you hold that name with high honor and high esteem, because that's who you are. So we don't want to trample upon that, and we want to still and continue to raise the mark and raise the banner of the Abrahamic High as we go forward in this life, to do great things for ourselves, thus doing great things for our nations, being in dispersion, Baruch Hashem, because the blessings just keep coming. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up for the Shabbat, and I'm going to go add another layer of clothes. Go put another layer of clothes on here, and enjoy my family and my friends and my loved ones on the Shabbat. I wish you all a great 6 days of labor ahead. I don't wish. My desire is that you have a great 6 days of labor ahead, and let's keep it moving forward. And remember teachability in your meditations this week. Remember the teachability factor. And ask yourself that question. And let's keep it moving forward. Okay, we'll turn it back over to our Kohen, and I'll say Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Shalom to all of you, Mishpah. Have a wonderful Shabbat, and enjoy your time with your families, friends, and loved ones, and go out and make wonderful memories these 6 days of labor ahead, and continue to learn, continue to be a student of this Torah. More importantly, continue to stick under the umbrella of the Kohen and the gate. Rabbi Simon out there. Over to you, our Kohen.
I took up with that, Rabbi Kefa. So these are the sounds that I gave you today. That's my email address, shimon63@yahoo.com, shimoun63@yahoo.com. Some of you already have sent me messages. Others that need them, please respond by email, and I'll send you the sounds. In the meantime, I want to give you a great, wonderful Sabbath today, a great day ahead in your relative countries, wherever you are, because I'm in the East, and of course over here is the evening, and over there I'm pretty sure that America is mid-morning. England is about evening time. So have a great, wonderful week ahead. Great Shabbat. Until next time, we'll speak soon. Practice makes perfect. Continue to practice. Continue to do your desires, and you will see that, as I said today, some of you are going to be billionaires. Some of you are future billionaires right here. Now, question is, do you believe it? The question is, do you still live in unbelief land? So put yourself in belief land, have the right feelings, and you will get your desires. Baruch Shem Yahweh, have a great week. Shabbat Shalom. If you wish to support our work, you can go to www.forever-israel.com or www.Abrahamic-Faith.info, and there is a donate now icon for PayPal, and you can send in a donation of your choice from that particular address. You can also use Cash App, and you can use PayPal directly, and you can send a donation to Shimon63, SHIMOUN63@yahoo.com, or you can send a donation to $SIMALT with the Cash App. We greatly appreciate your support in this endeavor for us to spread the truth and the correct way for people to better their lives and to serve the God of Israel in their lives. Thank you, and may you be blessed forever. Amen. Amen.